welcome to the Kids Graphic Novel of the Month Club for the month of March. This is March. And the book is, as I just said, is Hooky. And we have our guest here. Hello, and this is Miriam. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't ask you beforehand. I should have. Miriam, is it BONASTRE TUR? Did I get that right? Or even close? Nope, she's muted. Hold on. There you are. Now, there you are.
You got it kind of right. No. It's Miriam BONASTRE TUR.
BONASTRE TUR. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. It's always difficult with other languages, knowing how the pronunciation is sometimes. Good morning and well, good evening to you because you're in Spain and it's nighttime where you are.
7 p.m. here.
Excellent. Well, it's morning here in San Francisco, so international kids stuff. Yay. So let's start with my first question. I always ask the same first question from everybody because I kind of love this first question. Why comics? Of all the things you could be doing in your life, clearly you are a very talented illustrator. You're an interesting storyteller. What is it about comics specifically that attracted you and made that the thing you wanted to do?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited and a little bit nervous.
Don't be nervous.
So about your question, well, I've been drawing comics since I was like a little kid. Illustration for me is so interesting. Writing by itself, it's interesting. I did write like novels when I was a teenager, but comics is the best way. The media that I feel more connected since I was a child. I started reading comics that my mother and my father had in our house. So yeah, since I was very, very little, I've been drawing comics. Like I have lots of sketchbooks. From when I was like 5-year-old, with lots of drawings with characters talking and history, and yeah, so it's a media that always have been that I always connected to this kind of media. Yeah.
That's
I don't know if that made sense. But
no, that makes perfect sense. What were the first comics you remember reading?
Yeah, like the first ones weren't very appropriate for my age because I read comics that my father had in home, like Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
That's
interesting. Like wow, interesting. Conan.
No, that's like so inappropriate for kids, but I wrote those, and some Spanish comics called Esther y sus locuras, Esther y su mundo, the world of Esther, and it was about it was the comics that my mom read when she was little, in the 70s, I think, and it was about a teenage girl with her like love stories and friendships and that kind of things. And then I started to watch anime on TV, and I started to buy my own comics, and all of them were manga. Yes, my first comic I wrote for myself was Sakura, Cardcaptor Sakura. And yes, I started with shoujo manga. I don't know if you're familiar. Yes. Yes, I wrote a lot of like magical girls manga. I think Hooky has some influences from my early the early mangas I read. Right.
Yeah. No, I see it very much. What attracts you to the style and the tropes of manga versus sort of the European tradition or American comics like Conan?
Yeah. So I think manga always had something interesting that it's like they have a lot of different magazines, and each one is have a different target, right? The American comics, when I was a child, tended to be more focused for teenage boys, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Manga had like comics for girls, for women, for men, for adult people, and lots of their stories are meant for girls too. So I felt like really connected, like the stories told about the things interested me the most.
Yeah. But you mentioned that your mom had comics from the 70s that were the Spanish comics that were aimed at women, or perhaps it was girls. I don't know if it was girls or women.
Girls. Yes.
Yeah. So is there? I guess part of my question is there still material being published in Spain that speaks to that audience?
Not really. Like comic in Spain, it's not a thing. It was back in the 70s, but 70s, 80s, but we don't have a big audience nowadays. Now it's changing because lots of teenagers are starting to read manga thanks to anime, or American comics thanks to the Marvel movies and that things. But when I was a child or a teenager, Spanish comic is not a thing. So I think I felt attracted to manga too because it was on TV, right? Anime was like a big thing in the 90s and the 2000s. So lots of boys and girls my age grow up watching anime.
Yeah,
it's what we saw on TV.
Did you go to school for comics at all? Yeah, and for comics specifically, or just art in general?
No, for comics specifically. There are only 2 schools, I think, in Spain, centered in comics, and one of those was Joso, Escola Joso in Barcelona. I live 1 hour away from Barcelona, and I didn't know that school at first. I was thinking about studying like general arts or maybe animation, but when I discovered Escola Joso, that is all about comic, and there's a lot of teachers there who are professional comic artists who work for America, for the French market, and for Spain too. So it's like so important here, that school. I felt fascinated and I was like, oh, I have to go there. It was a super awesome experience because we learned like narrative, art, and ink, color, the particularities about the American, Japanese, and French narrative in comic that are different. It was so amazing. Really, I enjoyed it so much.
That's great. And so you said that you thought at first you were going to just study illustration. When did you? I mean, did you know then that you wanted to make comics professionally, or were you still thinking, oh, maybe I'll be doing commercial advertising or something like that?
Yes, like back then I was drawing comics as a hobby, but at first I didn't consider comic as a career because here in Spain it's like so difficult to live as a comic artist. You have to work for other countries because here there's not enough market. So at first I didn't consider it seriously because I thought it's difficult, right? But then I just did it. I think I like comics so much, so I wanted to try it at least. Like I didn't want to give up. I wanted to try it, and well, I succeeded.
So you succeeded.
I'm a
very
comic
much
artist
so.
now.
Very much so. So let me ask the question of where did Hooky come from? What was sort of the genesis of you doing it? And was the intention always for it to be a webcomic?
Well, do you know that there's stories that authors have for years in their minds, hoping to draw one day, like, oh my God, this is the story of my life. I want the public to read this. Well, Hooky was not this kind of story at all. It was like so natural for me. I was drawing the challenge Inktober. Do you know what it is? Well, to give it 5 cents, it's like a challenge artists do online. It consists on drawing an ink illustration every day of October and posting
Inktober. We call it Inktober.
Yes, Inktober. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
so you have to post it on your social media and tag this with Inktober. So in 2015, I drew a couple of twin witches, a boy and a girl. They didn't have names at that time, but I liked it so much. I liked their simple design. I fell in love with them. So I keep drawing them. And then Webtoon announced their contest, their first international contest. And I decided to join. So yeah, I invented the story of Hooky, like the big moments of the story in 1 month. Like the start, the important scenes, the climax, the ending, and the important characters, the important like couples, the important things. And I started the comic for the contest. And I didn't win. Okay. But to join the contest, you had to publish the comic online on the Webtoon platform. So even though I didn't win, I was loving the experience of drawing the little twins, Danny and Dorian, and sharing it with the readers. I didn't have a lot of readers by that time, but it was enjoyable for me, so I continued. And in a couple of months, Webtoon say to me that they wanted to make Hooky original Webtoon comic.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
was like that.
So if I understand things correctly, and I may not, when you first start, and not you specifically, but anybody first start doing comics on Webtoons, you're essentially doing them for free, right?
It depends. I mean, a lot of people make their comics especially for the contest, because Webtoon organize contests from time to time. Some people, yes, publish them for free. In my case, when I did it, it was like the first steps of Webtoon International. So there wasn't like so many readers back then. And yeah, I don't know. I think that Webtoon, how do you say that? Like, contract, no? Yes, people sometimes, but they tend to look like the canvas section. It's like the amateur or free section, and they look for comics that they're interested into. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
no. That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
It was more for me. It's always the curiosity of doing work for free without a contract. That's kind of scary, right? Like if you're, how do you support yourself doing that and things like that?
Yeah, by that time I was still studying in the Hoso.
I see. Okay.
I lived with my mother, so I was
makes it easier when mom's paying the way. Yeah.
I mean, I was a student. I was 21, I think. So I did it in my free time. I didn't publish like every week either. It's like I did it as a hobby.
Yeah.
At first, and it was only 2 months, so it wasn't like so hard for me.
Sure.
But I have people I know that have been like publishing for free for months or for years, and yeah, it's difficult when you want to be like published in originals. That's why when people ask me how can they like start working for Webtoon, I recommend to them that they take advantage of the contest, right? Because publishing for free forever is like it's scary, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I always recommend to aspiring Webtoon artists that they take part in the contest.
Yeah. And at some point, once the strip gets popular enough, you start getting paid.
Yeah. That's a thing too. You can earn money even if you're not an original. Webtoon pays you a specific amount. It's on their page. I don't know how much right now. Depend on your likes, your followers, and also the authors on Canvas can like link their Patreon on their pages, so they can be like
another source of income.
Yes, from the readers. So there's a possibility too. But you have to be like so popular.
Sure, exactly. No, well, I mean that to me is always, that's the thing that I find scary potentially about Webtoons is that if this is a triangle of all the people who are doing comics, these people at the top make money and probably make pretty good money, but all these people down here at the bottom of the triangle are working for free. It's a weird system. I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you publish on Canvas, you don't have to publish like every week if you don't want to. You can do it as a hobby, and like, oh, I'm a aspiring artist, or I am a student, or and I want to share my comics. Is a platform that allows that and have a lot of readers. There's other platforms that you can publish your comics to. But I think that's the interesting part, the large community of readers that Webtoon has. It's so attractive for authors. There's a lot of people there. Right.
Once you break through, that's the trick, is the breaking through part. But then it's great. Eventually, you were lucky enough that you get a giant book of the comics.
Yes, right? And there will be another one in September.
Nice.
Too. And maybe a third one. I don't know. But yes, those are like really thick books.
Yeah. You're. I'm assuming at this point you're doing this basically full time now.
Yes. I draw comics full time. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. It's great, isn't it? Like, to be able to break through it, make that living, and do it. That's fantastic.
Yes.
When you went to school, I assume that the school was much more focused on physical books.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so the technique and the things that they were teaching you were more about how a page works and continuity between a page. Was it difficult for you to start with that training to make the adjustment to sort of the endless scroll of a webtoon?
I mean, not that much, because I've been doing comics on my own for a long time, and I was also on pages like DeviantArt and websites like that, and this kind of long strips, I won't say that they were common on DeviantArt, but I saw that kind of strips before. So yeah, it was kind of difficult to adjust the narrative, I even think that I never did the perfect webtoon narrative in HOOKY. Like, I'm still learning. Because I remember the first time I met my editor in person in 2019. I went to Boston and I met the crew and some readers, and I had been working for webtoon for 3 years, but by that time, and my editor said to me like, yeah, you should like don't put so many text dialogues in your strips, because the webtoon reader has a less attention span than the book reader.
Right.
I was like, oh, I've been writing like a lot of text in my comic for 3 years. So yeah, there's things that I have to still learn, but another things were so interesting to practice. Like, for example, I would like to show you something, maybe.
Sure. By all means. Yeah, by all means.
Wait, like, for example, in a classic comic book, you can draw a splash page.
Yeah.
And that's when you want to show a strong emotion or a big scenario. So a cool thing about webtoon is that you have endless space to draw. You don't have a limited amount of pages to draw.
Right.
So if as something that I enjoyed a lot was drawing like big panels, infinite panels that you keep scrolling, and it's the same background, and you can see the characters like where's Waldo kind of thing. I want to show you, but I don't know.
Yeah, just down at the bottom, there's a little share your screen button, and once you, it's like right at the center of the screen on the bottom.
Yes, but I'm trying to. Yes, it's here. No, here. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah. One
yeah, I was talking about.
There we go. It's on screen.
Yeah, I think it's this panel, or it's this episode at least. No, it's this one. Wait, I don't know if it's this one. No, it's the next one. Wait. Here. Yeah, I think it's this one. So it's a really, really long panel, and you can see like the time passing, the different characters doing different things. It's a lot, very chaotic scene, this in particular, but this is something that I enjoyed doing. Right, and the end of the panel, it's like it starts with this scene, right? So this is something that you can only do with webtoon. And there's other things interesting in the platform, like putting music, for example, or GIFs, or I don't know. It's a interesting media. It's a new media for comic artists, and has a lot of interesting tools that can be used.
Yeah. If you're creative enough to use them, I think that's fantastic. What about the process of converting that into this?
Yes. For example, this panel I just show you. I mean, the whole HOOKY comic. That's something we didn't say in this interview, but webtoon format is like it's like a long strip that you keep scrolling and scrolling. It's like a panel under the other. So when I had to convert all this in a book format, I had to
you have to rebuild it. You have to rebuild the page.
Yes. And at first, the publisher suggested to do it themselves, but it wasn't working because at the end of the day, the narrative for an author, an artist, is so important. Like for me, a comic book has the art, the story, and the narrative. So it was so important for me to do it myself. So I had to do it all by myself. And it was a very interesting exercise because, as I said, I tend to like write so much text and I had to simplify a little bit to make the comic fit in a book.
Sure.
So it was a very interesting exercise and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm still enjoying it. And just before I forget it, I want to show you how I did this particular panel I just showed you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the book,
what page number is it on?
Yes, sure. It's
just because we can follow at home then.
Yes, it's page. Wait. Yeah, it's here.
What is that? That is 344.
Yes, here.
Oh, towards the end.
I did a splash page.
Yep. Yeah. Oh wow, that's very different. That's very, very, very different.
Yeah, but in this particular panel, it was the only way that this could work here.
Yeah.
The rest of the comic, I just wait. I'm gonna share
screen again. Yeah, please do.
Screen again. Yeah. So yeah, I did this. I did thumbnails for all the pages. See?
Yeah.
And then I just took the original panels and converted it to the classic comic book page format using this as a this was
that's really interesting that these thumbnails are your book thumbnails and not the original thumbnails. This is a second set of thumbnails.
Yes, those are the thumbnails for the book. Yes.
Wow, that's really
it was like
and so what did you do? Did you like kind of have your phone in front of you and just scroll and then try to redraw?
Kinda. Yes, I had not the phone, but the website.
Yeah.
And I kept like looking at my original comic strips, and drawing them here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It was a lot of work, and I had to redraw the first 60 pages of book one because I lost the original files.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I spent like the first months of the pandemic at home redrawing my first episodes of HOOKY.
Wow.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, this must have been hard too, because at the end you're talking about 384 pages here. That's a lot of pages to relay out.
Yes.
That sounds like just so much work to me.
Yes, it's a lot of work, but like I said before, I love comics, I kind of enjoyed that too. I think I learned by this exercise.
Yeah,
I think I'm a better comic artist now. I don't know. I really think it was something interesting.
Yeah. So, can you maybe talk a little about the challenges when you're going from this to the page? Because one of the things about comics that in a printed comic at least is that you need to have a beat at the end of every page, right? Like that last panel has to be something to make you go to the next page. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Were you encountering things in the endless scroll that you're like, I don't know quite how to turn this into like making it work for the turn?
I mean, it was difficult, and I think I'm still learning because in Webtoon, you have to do that at the end of every episode. Like every episode ends with a cliffhanger. Sometimes a heavier cliffhanger, sometimes not that much, but it's important. So I think that idea, you can sometimes feel that this was originally a webtoon, because some cliffhangers are kind of fake. Like,
sure.
Right? So it's difficult. I think that if I did Hooky originally for a comic book, it will be kind of different. But for your specific question about ending of each page, I did what I could. Like sometimes I could do something to make it work. Sometimes it's so difficult because the material is already done. So you have to work with what you have. But that's why I say it's an interesting exercise, because it's challenging for so many reasons.
And it looked like from your thumbnails that you were paying attention to the left and the right page.
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
Because particularly when you get to the right-hand page, the right-hand page really is where that big turn has got to be. You know, you can't end a scene in the middle at the bottom of the right-hand page.
Yeah. Look, I think I did what I could. I think that in the first book, at least, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I always tried to make it work.
Sure. Well, here's the thing I'll say to you, Miriam. I never read the digital comic. In fact, I can't read digital comics. My brain just starts futzing out after about 2 or 3 pages. I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. Let's go check email. I just, because I'm old, you know. I only read the book as a book, and I liked the book enough to make it our book of the month. So that I think tells you that you did a very good job in breaking it down and making it work. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, that really means a lot to me. Me as an artist, I can see that this is not perfect. It's my first comic, and as I said, it kind of feels like a webcomic sometimes. But I'm happy with the result anyway. So I'm so happy that you enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Do you just to stick on this thread just for one more sec? Do you, in the process of putting together the book, did you start to think, oh, maybe I should do a comic that is a book first, rather than doing a webcomic first?
Like, if the experience of making the book of Hooky made me want to make only comic books? Not really. Because not really, because my experience in webtoon was so beautiful, to say it. I mean, the most important thing and the most different thing in the web comics and the classic comics is the connection with the audience.
Sure.
And I enjoyed that like a lot. Every week I had thousands of people commenting on my episode, like vibing with it, enjoying it, and saying it to me, like thanking me or fangirling, and that's so heartwarming for me. It kept me motivated. The whole community was something so beautiful. And I kind of want to have this experience again.
Sure. I understand. No, that makes perfect sense. Speaking of community, I think we've got a couple of questions. In fact, Zoe's going, yes, we have a lot of questions. So let's take 1 or 2 and see how it goes. Put it up. From Onyx, what is your favorite part of the illustration process?
The thumbnails, I think. I mean the sketch, the sketch process.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's when I am more free, like I draw without with my heart. I mean, I focus on the emotion of the characters, their actions and their expressions, and I enjoy that so much. The line art, it's okay too. It's something that I have to do in order to have a cute drawing and not an ugly sketch.
Yeah.
And I don't like coloring that much. I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's more like it's difficult for me.
Sure.
I think I'm not very good with color.
Sure.
Even though I color it the whole hooky by myself. But I think it's kind of hard for me. It's not my specialty. So yeah, I do enjoy like the first sketch, the feel rough sketch.
Yeah. You're working all digitally, I'm assuming?
Right now, yes, most of the time. I mean, with Hooky, I started drawing and inking the panels traditionally, and then scanning the drawings and coloring with Photoshop. But I had to make an episode each week, so doing it digitally was like super faster.
Sure.
It saved me lots of time, so it was a natural process.
Yeah.
And right now, I usually do it everything digitally, but I think I draw better when I do it traditionally, when I use a pencil. So I don't know what I'm gonna do from now on.
Yeah. So you went through the steps too, where it's sort of thumbnails, pencils, inks, right? There's different layers when you're doing a physical page.
What's your question again?
Yes, you were doing the art sort of 2 or 3 different times when you're doing it traditionally.
Well, my process is like the first thumbnail, like so rough, and then I did the first sketch. And the next step is inking, but sometimes I kept the sketch as it was, maybe cleaning it a little bit, because it felt more fresh.
Sure.
Like my drawings are not like super perfect. I like it this way. More fresh, more organic. I don't know if it's the right word. But yeah, sometimes I just kept the first sketch and cleared it a bit, and sometimes I ink it, and then the flat colors, one shadow, one light, and effects, textures. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. And what about the lettering? Are you doing the translation into English? Are you writing it in Spanish? I assume you're writing it in Spanish.
Yes. My English is not very good, as you can see.
Your English is fine. You keep saying your English is not very good, and your English is just fine.
Well, maybe it's fine enough to keep a conversation, but it's not good enough to make a whole comic without any mistake. I tried it at first and I failed, and I think you can still read the first episodes with some weird in the webtoon version. The book version is corrected, but the webtoon version maybe still have some mistake. So I decided to draw the text in Spanish, and I had a translator, a girl who helped me with the English.
Yeah. And this is an ongoing process, obviously. Is it the same person who's doing the translation for you every week for years for this?
There were like 3 different persons, and then the book version was made by the publisher, so the original words I put in paper are like lost in translation.
Right. It's so interesting. I love this. I love this.
And
All right, let's put it.
it's even weirder because I have the Spanish version of HOOKY.
Yeah.
We published HOOKY in Spain. This book is the Spanish version.
Okay.
And they took the English book version and made a translation to Spain again. So
interesting. Oh wow! So it's translated in and then translated back
in
again.
my original mother tongue, and it's not my words, so it's so weird. But
wow, that's actually really interesting. Wow.
They asked me about some particular things, but the Spanish publisher, did the translation. So.
Wow. So when you read that Spanish edition, are you like, that's not what I meant, or
no, not really.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
Because I checked all of it, and I said like change this or change that. So I like this version, but it's weird that full circle.
Yeah, it's all full circle. I love it. Another audience question. Let's pop one up. From Clarissa Corral, when you create your characters, how do you develop their personalities? Dorian, Danny, Nico, and Monica all have so many layers to them. So how did you invent their identity?
Well, I just like to think of my characters as like real people. Like I don't think of them as tools for the plot, or I mean, all of them start as a cliche. Like the princess is kind of posh, the Dorian is like a bookworm, Danny is extrovert and friendly, Nico is like a how do you say gambero in English? Well, it's okay, but I like to live my story as my characters are real people, so I try to understand them. Sometimes when I was writing the story, I didn't really know what some particular character was gonna do. And then as I progressed in the story, like the character told me. Right. I don't know if that makes sense, but
absolutely does.
I think that sometimes my own experiences also you can see them reflected in some characters. Sure. I do see some of my struggles when I was younger, maybe reflected in some characters, but I don't like to think of them as my my reflexes. I like to think of them as own persons.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
have you ever had a situation where you wanted a character to go in a certain direction for the story, and then they just wouldn't? As you're writing it or drawing it, they're just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Like, no, please don't do that. No, not to that extent. Okay. No, I don't think so. But I do think that I struggled the most with the two main characters. Yeah. Because Danny and Dorian, like the process of Monica, Nico, or even Damien, or side characters are like to one direction, right? Yeah. Danny and Dorian instead are the main characters, and they had a lot of ups and downs, and I felt like this now and I feel like that, and I struggled sometimes like, okay, Dorian in this point of his life, what would he do? I'm not saying this correctly, but do you understand me? Like,
I do.
I struggled with the two main characters the most, but I like them the most too, because they feel more real to me. I don't know.
Sure. Do you when you start on any new episode, are you doing a full script first? Are you sort of like doing it like a screenplay, or are you? Because certainly some people just literally just write dialogue. Other people do the thumbnail first, and then and then work it out. Like, so where do you actually start the process?
Well, it depends. Sometimes I have like a specific dialogue so clear in my mind. Sometimes I have a specific panels clear in my mind. So it depends. Sometimes I try to start writing the script, and then I get stuck and I have to draw the thumbnails first. It depends. It's like so organic to me. What I can say for sure is that when I drew Hooky, I tended to have like a lot of sketchbooks, physical sketchbooks, where I sketched ideas. And it doesn't matter if it were ideas for this specific arc or for the ending or for, it doesn't matter. So when I wanted to start a new arc, I had to look for all my sketchbooks and search that sketches I did a while ago, and then organize myself like, okay, this arc have this scene, this scene, this scene, and then I started like to script episodes week by week.
Nice. Is it getting easier over the years? Is it getting harder?
I'm getting more organized over the years. More professional, I like to think. Because when I started Hooky, it was like so organic, so emotional. So I want to draw what I like and nothing else. Like I had specific scenes planned. I had the ending. I had lots of things, but it was not everything planned. And nowadays, I like to plan everything in advance to know what I'm drawing, the clues that I'm leaving in this episode to show something later. I prefer to be more organized nowadays. To make more interesting and I don't know how to say in English, like well done stories. Do you understand? Like,
yeah, I do.
To make it all make sense.
Yeah. No, it does. Are you thinking about it in terms of sort of this amount of thing, or are you thinking about it in terms of like this episode and next episode?
When I create a new story, do you mean, or when I created Hooky?
Yeah. No, when you're doing a new story, what do you? How are you? Because you said that you're being more organized. Are you organizing out the entire? Because this is a lot of work. This is 380 pages. That's a lot to keep in your head at one time.
Yeah. So right now I'm doing a new story. But I can talk a lot of this, but I'm doing a new story. And what I did in this time was to wait. I'm like using the translator. Okay. No summary. Summary was the word I didn't know. I did a summary of the whole story, like a very brief summary.
Yeah.
And then I'm making every season. Like I will organize the first season, because I don't organize as books when I publish online. Yeah. I organize it like seasons. So I'm organizing like the whole first season, in every episode what it will happen. Briefly summarized, but I want to know what happens in each episode.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then I start sketching and writing the scripts for each episode. But I have the whole season prepared.
Yeah. How many episodes are in a season on average?
It depends.
Obviously, it depends. I meant on average, though.
For example, Hooky We could consider that every book is a season, like, well, I don't know. Maybe 40, 70 episodes.
Wow.
Really? I don't know. Yes,
Yeah.
I think 40 is the minimum for a season, for me,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of work to structure out.
Yeah.
Here's my original paragraph. Now I'm going to turn it into 40 to 70 episodes. Like that's a lot of work and a lot of writing.
Yeah, but it's better to do it because if you keep drawing week by week without having everything planned, you can make mistakes.
Yeah.
You can stress out. You can end without ideas. So I prefer to prepare everything beforehand.
Sure.
So
Was there any particular thing that taught you that that lesson?
yes, actually. Lately, a few months ago, my boyfriend read the whole HOOKY, the whole webtoon.
Yeah.
And he likes to read a lot, and he likes he knows a lot of narrative and that kind of things. And he said to me that the last battle of HOOKY, the last battle, was so intense and well written and interesting and emotional, but that the villains, the bad guys of that battle, were shown only an arc ago, right? And he said it would have had a lot of payoff if you had shown this bad guys a lot time before, like if they have been from the start, or
if you would establish them a little more. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought you're absolutely right, but I didn't plan HOOKY that much. So the bad guys of the last battle are so interesting by themselves. They have an agenda. They have names and character and personality, but they were not established soon enough to have enough payoff. Like the battle have payoff for other things. It's emotional, but the bad guys are not important enough. And I thought, yeah, you're right. I have to prepare everything in advance.
Yeah, interesting. I love it. I love hearing about that kind of technique thing, man. We got another question. Yeah, put it up. From SP Milky, I guess. I don't know. Were there any artists or anything that inspired your current art style / inspired you to change your art style?
I mean, I never try to copy a specific artist to make the same. I think my influence came organically to me, naturally to me, like the things I like. Well, no. Excuse me, no. When I was 12 years old, I copied other things. But it's normal for artists at first to copy the things they like. But from then I never had the conscious idea of copying anyone. So if I could mention some influences for me, I would say like Ghibli is one of them. For example, it's not like I don't have a very Ghibli style in the characters, but I like to think that the relation between backgrounds and characters, like very detailed and charming backgrounds and simple and simple characters, it's so Ghibli-ish, maybe Ghibli. And I don't know other authors. I mean, I can mention like my influences in story-wise, like Harry Potter, Avatar, The Last Airbender, Doremi, the anime, the magical Doremi, things like that. But as my art style, I don't know. I really don't know.
You've talked a lot about anime. Do you read a lot of manga?
I mean, yes. Nowadays, not that much, but I have read a lot of manga through my life.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't really like anime that much. I watched anime when I was a child.
Sure.
But I don't like anime now.
Yeah.
I only like manga.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't connect with the anime tempos. Like, I don't know why. Like the same jokes I like in the manga version, it made me cringe in the anime version. I don't know why. But yes, I have read a lot of manga, a lot of shoujo, especially shonen. It's not a genre. Well, I enjoy. But one of my favorite mangas of all time is Full Metal Alchemist. That is a shonen.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's an exception.
Yeah.
So yeah, I read most of it was shoujo. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get to the comic store very often? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely comic shops in Barcelona. Yes.
Yes. A lot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I went yesterday to a comic store. Yes. I like to. Well, but I want to say too that I've been a lot of time without going to a comic store due to the COVID and pandemics, and I went a few months ago for the first time, and I was amazed about how many comics there's publishing in Spain right now. That I was so happy to see that teenagers are starting to read comics and manga, and I felt a bit overwhelmed because I didn't know most of the comics that were there. But yes, I like the sensation.
Yeah. Do you have a comic shop like near you in your town, or do you have to go into Barcelona itself to get to the
well,
shop?
I have a bookstore here in my town. It's not a comic store; it's a bookstore, and it have a little section of comics.
A little section, yeah.
So to go to a comic book store, I have to go to Barcelona. But there's a big one called Norma Comics, and it's super big. It's amazingly big, and I did my HOOKY Spanish presentation there, and it was amazing.
Oh, nice. That's very nice. That must have been satisfying too.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, that's great. Are we out of questions though, or is that you got? We did the best ones. Okay, very good. Cool. Well, what else can I ask you? So you're working on you're finished with HOOKY and you're working on a new project. What's that new project?
I don't know if I can say it. I think I can explain it like so much about it, but it will be about. It will be a fantasy story again, a long one. Maybe not like HOOKY, not that long, and aimed to a little bit older audience, not very older, but maybe 14, 16-year-old. And I'm so excited about it, but I can say like so much about it.
Sure, no, I understand. When do you expect that to start up?
I'm working on it right now, but I can say when can I announce something. I don't know. I still don't know.
Yeah. Well, how about this? This year, next year?
I hope it's this year. Okay. I hope.
Okay, very good. And you said that there's going to be 2 more books of HOOKY. Is that correct?
Well, there's the second one. It's already announced. It will go on sale on September of this year. The second book of HOOKY, and the story doesn't end there. So yeah, maybe a third one.
Yeah. Very good. And is the second volume as thick as this?
Yes.
Wow.
I think the second one is thicker than this.
Oh wow.
A little bit, but yes, it's. I mean, I worked on Hooky for more than 4 years, so yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that really kind of struck me about the book is, again, we already mentioned it's 384 pages. It's only $13. That is, that's an incredible value for this, because I don't know, like, this is one of the adult books that we're picking. This one's got, I want to say, like 160 pages, and it's $20. So when I can kind of put them like that, and you can see the difference between the two books. This one's 20, this one's 13.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great and you did right now. Boy, Hooky, it's it's cheap, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is good. That is good. So do you think that was this a decision purely by the publisher to price it like this, or were they able to do so because of the online being successful enough? Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah, but if I'm honest, I don't have any idea. I don't know.
It's all good. I figure I may as well ask. I'm always curious about that stuff. Well, good. Is there? I mean, you like the twins, obviously, but who's your favorite side character? How about that?
Damien.
Okay.
Damien.
Yeah.
The older brother. It's my favorite character.
Okay.
Because he's like so interesting. He's an emo. He's I like him. I really like him. I like his backstory. So a lot of drama. I like drama. I like his looks. I like that he's kind of mean. Yes.
I like that. Cool. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else I have to ask here. I really admire your art style a lot. I think that in terms of the way that you've managed to take something that was a vertical scroller and turned it into such a fine piece of comicness, and it's so dense and it's so thick. It's just this is great. I really love it. That's what I'm trying to say there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, my absolute pleasure. Well, we've asked you about the what's coming next question. You can't really answer, so let's go with the final question then. And the final question is we have a lot of people who watch these videos. This is something like our 260th episode or something like that. But we have a lot of people who watch these who want to make comics of their own. And a lot of times people are like, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do. So what would be the piece of advice that you would give someone? It can be physical craft based. It can be sort of an emotional thing. It can be a intellectual thing. But what would be the piece of advice you would give to someone young who wants to make comics?
I have two advices. I mean, they're very simple, very basic. But the first one is work a lot.
Yeah.
work a lot, because working on comics, it's a lot of work, and you have to enjoy it because it's a lot of work. So always draw something that you enjoy, something that you love to read as a reader, something that you feel in your heart. Like, don't try to make everyone happy with the story, like to sell something that you know that it will sell, because maybe it will sell good, but it will burn out you. I think you have to enjoy it, and you have to work a lot, but try to not work on weekends. I mean, yes, working a lot is important, but sometimes we burn out. I met a lot of young artists my age or younger than me here in Spain, and every time they tell me that they work the 7 days of the week, and I'm like, stop, you're gonna die young, stop that. So yeah, work a lot, enjoy what you do, draw something that you love and you feel, but don't kill yourself. Like you have to live too and breathe. So try to keep a balanced
balance. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I always identified as a workaholic, but I've never I've never wanted to kill myself working. Like weekends are sacred for me, right? So yes, balance and heart and work.
well, thank you for being here on a Sunday night for you.
Thank you.
Since we're on your sacred weekend.
Oh no! Well, this is not work. This is fun. I mean it. No.
Yeah. No.
No, I mean it. This is fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And well, wait. I just say that weekends are sacred, but drawing is also a hobby to me. So sometimes I want to draw on weekends, but I don't draw like, oh no, I have to finish this. I draw like, I want to draw something. That's okay.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it, and I have enjoyed this time with you so much.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I was so nervous at first, but it was.
Yeah, no, I told you there's nothing to be worried about. It's we're talking about comics.
Fine.
Who doesn't love talking about comics? That's what I say, at least. Yeah. The book is Hooky. Put me on a 1, will you, Zoe? And so, yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching this episode. You can, of course, buy a copy from us if you would like. It helps keep these things going. And this is part of it's a club. Every month we pick a new book, and we get a lot of good books like this. So remember that. In fact, let me tell you about next month's book. We are doing Squire. By I'm gonna mangle their names too, probably. It's Sarah Alfaghi, I think is how you pronounce it, and Nadia Shamas. And this is next month's book, Squire. And this is a really smart book, really thoughtful. The next interview we are doing is for the adult clubs rather than the kids clubs. I'm talking to Gilbert Shelton, who drew the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. What? Paul. Oh, Mavrides. Oh God, why did I say Gilbert Shelton? Lord knows I'm goofy sometimes. Yes, we're talking to Paul Mavrides about the Freak Brothers, and so that's on 420 of all places. And then we're talking to James Tinian for the. There's the thing. James Tinian for the Adult Club next month, which is going to be great. So that's the next couple of shows coming up. I would like to thank Zoe for putting up with my nonsense and running the show and doing a great job. And I would like to thank all of my staff, Zoe, KATT, Katie, for allowing me to be able to do shows like this because they keep the stores running. I love it. I want to thank Jordan, my producer. I want to thank all of you for watching. And I very much want to thank Miriam right there for making a book like this, because if you don't make books like this, I have nothing to sell. So thank you so much for being a great artist and making great fun books.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean it.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and we will talk to everybody next month.